Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I decided today to do something a little bit different. So, if you're joining us from YouTube, I'll be kind of like getting ready and putting makeup on my face while I'm recording the podcast. And if you're joining from a podcast player, you might hear some like makeup stuff going around just so you're aware of what's happening. You're not thrown off by it. So, I don't know about you, but in the end of the year, I get really reflective about the past year, like what happened in the year. I think that's really normal. And I think that's something that the majority of us do, which make us want to set all of these different goals and new objectives for 20, like the new year. And I don't know about you, but for me, I've been feeling like yesterday, I don't know, like a lot of things are changing in my life, and I've been going through a lot of death and rebirth. Like a lot of things are kind of changing. I'm outgrowing a lot of things, and I'm just having to let go of a lot of um, experiences, situations, and relationships that I know I kind of have to let go of. But of course, I'm really scared to do that. And I think that and it's like around this time, of like the holidays and everything and whatever, like which people think it's harder. I don't understand what makes it harder. For me, it's all the same. Like whenever you have to outgrow something and let go of people and let go of situations and things like that, it's always hard no matter what freaking time of the year is. But anyways, and then I was, like laying down on my bathtub, crying and feeling really bad about myself and about my life. And I just started feeling like this year really didn't go as planned, quote unquote. I think that one of the things that I kind of should have done, or not should have done, because I don't like to like shoot on myself, but that maybe I could have done, was that I didn't really have a big of a plan. Let's say I didn't have a lot of like an intention for this year, or maybe I didn't. I don't remember. I don't know. I just felt like in the beginning of the year and like throughout the year, I was so consumed by instability and not knowing where I was going to end up next, because I was living in Greece and I didn't want to be there anymore. So I kept looking for places to live and I didn't know where I was going to live. And anyways, it was just like a very like complicated time that I feel that at some point I was just going with things instead of really like taking control of my life. And I don't mean control in like a negative and oppressive way. I just mean like taking the leashes of my life. I feel like at some point like just life just like took me in it, like as if I was on this ocean of my life, and then instead of like surfing the waves, I was actually just like being caught by them. And it was like one coming after the other after the other. I was just like, "Ugh, I can't breathe," and everything. I'm sure that you felt this before in your life. And I just feel like when I looked back on my life while I was in the bathtub, like laying down and crying and everything, I felt really frustrated because I felt like this is not where I wanted to be in. And I feel like this was such a stagnant year. Like that's the first thought that my mind had, like, oh my god, what am I doing? This was such a stagnant year. Like I'm such a failure, blah blah blah, like all of these thoughts, that I don't know, they're really common to me. And I'm sure that they're common to many other people. And as I was crying and feeling like a failure and everything, as you would, I got this other voice in my head that started showing me actually all of the other things that I had done. And when I really looked back at all of my accomplishments and all of the year, not only in the negative way that my mind was looking at, but really like in a holistic way of all of the things that happened and all of the things that I achieved, and all of the, more importantly than achieving more, but more so of the movement and the steps that I took toward something that I am building, that maybe right now I can't see it as clearly in the physical reality, but it does, nevertheless, it doesn't mean that I'm not building it and that it's not being produced in some way or the other. When I look at it like this in a more holistic way, I can see that actually it wasn't a stagnant year. Of course, it wasn't the year that I thought. I don't know, like it wasn't, the year didn't happen like I thought it would, because I think that rarely happens. But it's still, but there are still magnificent things that happened. So, like I was living in Greece. I then moved to Paris. I was able to visit my friends and my family in Brazil. I started mentoring women who are entrepreneurs and who want to build a life of freedom for themselves, and who want to bring, their projects with purpose into the reality. And this started making me so happy, and I realized how much I love doing this. After moving here, I started realizing that a base is something that I want, instead of just moving around with life and kind of like being this nomad person. I ended up moving to Paris, which is a city that I've always wanted to live in, and things flowed really well for me to be here. And yes, I'm encountering a lot of challenges while living here. It's not the easiest city to live in, it's not the easiest place in the world to be in, and there are a lot of challenges in regards to like relationships and building a community and things like that, and like establishing my business and my mentorship, and all of the challenges that are going to follow me or go with me. Not that you're going to follow me in a bad way, because I'm choosing to be in this situation, I'm choosing to bring those challenges with me, but I'm going to go into 2024 with them. And I think that is a very important thing for us to do, because as I was going through this, moment of like crying and feeling like a failure, to then recognizing a lot of other things that I accomplished in this year, although maybe they weren't the exact things that I wanted to accomplish in the beginning of the year that I had kind of like in mind, they were still things that are true in my reality and that I accomplished. So I think that we forget a lot to recognize ourselves and celebrate ourselves and celebrate our wins, even if they are in our mind, even if we consider them small. And I think that this is something that, we are always having such a high standard for ourselves that we forget to recognize the small things or the not so small things, giving ourselves a little tap on the back or something. Because I don't know. I think that sometimes we really get caught up in our future plans, in our future goals, in our future whatevers, and we forget to celebrate the present moment. I know that I do that a lot, and I am also so scared of losing what I've built for myself and losing what I have accomplished. That is like one of my biggest, I don't know, one of my biggest fears. That makes me not even being able to celebrate what I have, because I get so afraid of losing the things that I'm like, okay, I have to keep going and make sure that I'm not losing it. And this is something that I just like more concretely realize now as I'm talking about it. And I think that that is like super detrimental for my mental health and my ability to be grateful for what I have and for who I am in the present moment, and to recognize how far I've come and how much energy I move and how I'm constantly trying to do things. And it makes me emotional, because it's so easy for us to not feel like we're enough and that we're not doing enough, and that there's always someplace else that we could be, and that that person is doing better, that person is doing more, or whatever. And always putting ourselves in this place of, you're not there yet, you're not there yet, you're not there yet. I remember that 2 years I remember that 2 years and a half ago, when I first left Brazil, one of like my biggest goals were, I want to be able to offer like intuitive sessions. I was offering intuitive sessions at the time. I want to be able to offer intuitive sessions to people. And then I remember that I got some clients on the intuitive sessions, and I was like, ah, that's great. However, but I didn't allow myself to be happy for it. So instead of being happy for it, I was like, yes, but now they have to be like paid, because they were paying in Brazilian reais, and I had to, make money in euros because I was living in Portugal at the time already. And I thought to myself, okay, that's great, but now the next goal is for us to have clients that will pay in euros, and then I swear I'll be happy. And then I got the clients who paid in euros, and I was like, okay, this is great, but we need now more clients that will pay for more sessions, so then we can feel safe and everything and blah blah blah. And I just remember that I remember that I looked at myself and I was like, yeah, but you said that this would make you happy and it didn't make you happy, and now this you said it would make you happy and it didn't make you happy, and now it's going to be this, and then you know that you're going to get there and it's not going to make you happy, because ultimately it's not really about the thing, it's about the your inability to be in the present moment and to celebrate what you have in your present moment. And I remember when I was living in Brazil, how the life that I'm living now was my biggest dream ever. It makes me emotional again because I'm in a very emotional week. But I remember that I used to sit on my bed back in Brazil in my parents' house, and I would visualize, me living in Europe and me being able to have, the freedom of time and the freedom of resources and everything to be able to make this dream a reality. And now that I'm here, instead of like being grateful for the fact that I'm even here, it became so normal that I'm already thinking about the next thing that I want, and the next thing that I want, and the next thing. And I think that's beautiful, to be like ambitious in this way and to want the next and the next and the next. However, it has to come from a place of overflow. It has to come from a place of like, wow, I'm so grateful for everything that I have. And I want more, instead of like, yeah, everything I have is okay, and I guess, but I need more to feel happy. And I think that in this time, it's I just wanted to really leave you with this reflection in this podcast, for you to look at your life and look at the things that you already have, that you can be grateful for, that you can celebrate yourself for. So instead of focusing so much on the next year's list of the goals that you have and blah blah blah, which are super important, and I hope that you will do this and everything, like that. I think it's also firstly important to celebrate your wins of this year, so you can feel really really good about yourself and recognize yourself for who you are, which is such a powerful person already, and a person that wants to change, and a person who wants to set a lot of things in movement in their life. You're not someone who wants to be stagnant. And I know that because you are watching this or you're listening to this, and someone who wants to stay stagnant is not even pressing play on something like this. And I'm not saying that lightly, because if I heard that on a podcast, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, you don't even know me. But I can imagine myself pressing play on this and being like, yeah, that's true. Because if you are interested in some sort of self development, or if you're interested in wanting to change your life in some way or another, and you want to create a life that you love, then you're not wanting to stay the same. You're not. And that's already something that you can be proud of, because although we don't see it in maybe one day or the compound of 1 month or even 1 year, things are moving, energy is moving. And I think that we have to really give ourselves a break, so that we can celebrate ourselves and pause and recognize how far we have come, so we can then move forward with this feeling of overflow and joy for who we are, knowing that wherever we're going next is coming from a place of completeness and not from a place of lack. You know what I mean? So instead of looking for the new country to live, the new job to go after, the new business that you're going to open, the new workout routine or whatever, you're not doing this from a place of lack. You're not doing this from a place of I am not great, I'm not enough, therefore I'm going to go after these things. You're going after those things from a place of I am so great already, and that's why I deserve all of the other things that I dream of. That's why I deserve to create a life that I love. And I think that's a very special place to be in. And I hope that this podcast inspires you to be in that place. I don't want to take up so much of your time. I'm really working on my clarity and on being more concise with my messaging for the next year. I'm surely going to do a podcast all on setting goals and intentions for the new year. I think that that's really, really precious. If you're listening to this podcast from a player, know that I'm starting to create YouTube videos more on how to create a life you love while living abroad, and all about moving out of your home country and creating a home away from home. So I've really decided to create content on that for my YouTube and possibly for my Instagram as well. There are a lot of things that are going to change in this new year. This podcast is probably going to be one of those things. So, just a heads up for you. So, make sure that you follow me over there on YouTube. It's just my name, Cami Minerbo. As always, I'll leave the handle for it on the show notes for this episode. And I hope you have a really, really great New Year's. I hope that you celebrate yourself and your accomplishments, even if they are really, really small and you had like a very shitty year. There's always something like a little gem that you can find around in your year, and I hope that you find that. Since this is the last podcast of 2023, I'll see you next year in 2024, and I hope that next year will be a great year for all of us, everyone who's listening and watching. And yes, I hope you create a very beautiful and authentic and uplifting new year. And I'll catch you on the next episode in 2024. Bye.